Hello, everybody. Uh, just bought this today. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the whole complete series of the original cartoon. Uh, here, that's the box. Here's what the inside look like. It's a plastic hardcover. It comes with this little pamphlet brochure type of thing, which it talks about the episodes of what disc has what, and like thanking the fans and all that on there. And this thing has two colors, like disc one in red and blue, as you can see. And what they did with the little booklet inside, you can check it out. I think it's probably just convenient for them or whatever, but I think people's gonna open it up. It's like, it'll fall out. But be careful when you get one of these, just in case something like that happens. I'll say, a lot of these pictures that you see on there, even though they renewed it, they did it in the early 2000s where they have the little box sets of volumes. Like they'll have season 1, volume 1, and season 2, volume 2, and stuff like that. And the boxes were as big as this. And those were a little more than this, believe it or not. These things those were $50 a piece. I remember because I bought them. 40 or 50 bucks a piece. Probably depends what store you went. The first one I bought, first two I bought, I got them over at Best Buy, and then this one I got at Best Buy for $45. The whole original series, and some of them I did buy over at Target when I was there, and I like it, even though they used a lot of the pictures of what they did in the early 2000s. It's great. I've I've in I enjoyed those. Uh, if you have any of those old box sets, a lot of people are giving out good money for those for like, let's say $300 per box, and to me it's highway robbery. But if you're nostalgia about the show, guess what? They did you wrong here. If you're looking for pretty good money, I'll say if you have those box sets, the other ones, and you got all four of these of the original box sets, and then you got the She-Ra, which I think there's three. Yeah, there's three of those, and then the Adventures of He-Man, the second He-Man that came out after this one. Uh, I think there's three or four of those. You you got a pretty good deal on those if you have all of those, and you're gonna get the so-called box with that. But I kind of like this a little better because I love the original one. The original one means so much to me and a lot of people because this was one of the very few shows, very few cartoons that at the end of the episode, it helped you try to understand what the episode's about or teach you a lesson, even though one or two just seems out of place uh, in there. It, what this one has, besides the other box sets do, it has the He-Man and He-Man and this She-Ra, the Secret of the Sword, and that was in the first She-Ra, I think, the first She-Ra, the Princess of Power. They also had a DVD by itself with that, and then He-Man and She-Ra, the Christmas special, which you had to buy separately, which I did buy, and that is very hard to find. And it has it in here. They have some of the documentaries in there, uh, probably from the same original box sets. And to me, it's worth it. Uh, I'm ecstatic that I have this. The menu for it is just think of this of a picture like that. It just says play all and the number of the episodes and all that on there. The name of the episodes and everything. If you guys don't know, a lot of artists now that are in the industry that's been there for a while, about 30, 40 years, close to 40 years, believe it or not. I'm 38, and I was around when this first came out. And He-Man came out in 1983. And they're doing a show about that time from Filmation that's in there. And Lou Scheimer, uh, I'll say, or Shimmer. So some people say Scheimer or Shimmer. And I'll say they started off with this TV show. Some of them were, this was their first job as an animator or some kind of artist to do this. And I'll say this: they something about this cartoon they just did right. Even though you see some of the different scenery, but you see the same drawings of some stuff of the stock that they use to rotate. And I'll say it's they they did real big on this. About 6, 7 years ago, I went to go do. I went to. They call it Stan Lee's Kamikaze then, in 2012, and I met an artist or two that was doing comic books, and this was one of them that he did. And then 2013, 2012, I think. Uh, One of the two. I went and one of them was doing. He said that he did the uh, Little Mermaid on Disney, but he gave great thanks for this cartoon because if it wasn't for this, he wouldn't have a great career where he's at right now. And this was a great big stepping stone that he did. And they said they had a great crew to do this cartoon, a great cast, and a great artist to do it because it wasn't just a paycheck. It was just something that some of them have believed in do this show. And I thank them for having a great childhood. And sometimes, once in a while, I think about this cartoon of like what would He-Man do? WWJD for a lot of people. What would Jesus do? What would He-Man do? And is the cartoons, this show, uh, it means something for a lot of people now. I always hear people saying something about Thundercats and Transformers for over 20 some odd years. I was the only one that was bringing up He-Man uh, through all that. And it was very influential of how it is. And then when I started going to the comic book conventions, and let me say this: He-Man did a lot of great things for a lot of those people there, and there was a lot of people that was around my age at the time going over to conventions, thanking the artists and everything that has done this show. And if you guys look for the artists and all that you like in comic books and other cartoons and all that, they're either somehow influenced by this show or they have worked on this show. Example, Alex Ross. Alex Ross, in one of the box sets, did a drawing on a card. That's the only one I could name right now. Only artist I could name that he has done a card for this. It was a nice looking card and all that. But he has done a lot of freelance comic book type of stuff, especially DC. In DC, you have a picture, a poster, if you see it, and they have them as individuals of like he did one of Batman that is greatly detailed, but is not quite like Batman in the 1989 or something like that. But it was different. Uh, it look it looks like somebody actually took a photograph of Batman or the Flash, which I thought was pretty good too. But it was done in that type of way. And Alex Ross did this. He did He-Man. And when you see some of his stuff that his work now, you see this, you could tell. Uh, like I said, it's worth getting if you like the nostalgia of it. I would like to get the other box sets again if I wasn't hurting for money, but I ain't gonna pay no $300 for each of those box sets again, since I now have this. If they come out with She-Ra and the other He-Man like this, I'm getting it. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the few episodes that I saw on there and what great things that they have done. And one of my favorite episodes on here has to be maybe the Evil Seed. Evil Seed was a pretty good episode. But I think the best scene that they did in there, when Evil Seed is wilting away, and the way he looks when he wilted away to die, supposedly, even though he came back in the 2003 He-Man. Um, the artist, when you look at it, of how he wilted away, it's the same artist that did Heavy Metal, if you believe it or not. He did the movie Heavy Metal. If you guys are as old as I am and nostalgia about some of these old cartoons, this was a great staple in the 80s childhood. Early to mid 80s childhood right here. This is it. If you know somebody that's maybe in their early 40s, in their late 30s, $45 over at Best Buy or Amazon or whatever. I'm telling you right now, they will be. You'll be hearing some great stories of this. And when you look at the artists that are on here, they you see how legendary how they are, and they started with nothing to their name, just hey, it's Alex or Danny or something like that. And they started off with this cartoon and then they made them legendary. When they went in and saw some of these people said, you did this cartoon? It's like, yeah, I did that cartoon. I did this episode or that episode. And they became legends after that cartoon. And it's still a big factor. And when this is coming out, and supposedly next year in uh, spring, if you guys are wrestling fans, in April, in spring, WWE is making action figures that look like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, believe it or not. and it's been shown over at San Diego Comic Con and a couple of other ones. They already got the Ghostbusters ones out, but they're coming out the ones in spring that look like the old He-Man action figures, with a little few things to it or changes. But I'll say this: if you guys know a grandparent or your parents was big on this cartoon, just say, hey, do you remember He-Man or She-Ra back in the day? I'm telling you right now, they'll probably light up and say, believe it or not, that was a great cartoon of what it is then. And my sister wasn't she found out later on how much this cartoon means to me, and how she saw it over at the comic book convention a couple of times. And I'm glad it's back doing something, and still in the comic books and all that still. But get it for somebody that you care for. I think this would be a great gift for parents or somebody, because something about this cartoon will just means a lot to a lot of people, especially myself. Uh, my story is about this cartoon, which a lot of people have. Uh, I took a lot of things what they said at the end of the episode personally, because it seemed like I owed them. Because when I went to school here in California, United States, I was just speaking German and some Spanish at the time. And when I went to school, they had to hold me back a year uh, in school because I could barely speak in uh, and understand English. Or I think I understood English, but I just didn't want to talk. That's what it mainly was. And what I did with this cartoon, uh, I let my parents keep playing the video of all the He-Man episodes that I had on there, and they played it over and over and over. And what I did was I learned English through this cartoon. And like I said, it seemed like I owe them, and it's great to help pay them back what they did, of how much it means to me. And I would like to thank the people of Filmation and the artists and all that for all these years of what they have done for me and for a lot of people that are out there. And I would like to thank them for bringing it back as another push for the future people of that going through nostalgia and all that. Because this was just an awesome cartoon in the 80s, and this was one of the absolute biggest cartoons of all time in the 80s. Thank you.